was inspired to write the Jacobean building. I was, as a matter of fact, I was walking in this neighborhood in Cairo, which is called Garden City, and it's very interesting because the American embassy is involved in the story.
I love that.
Yes. I was walking in the street, and there was an old building, and they were the American embassy was making kind of project to demolish the building to build up a garage, and because Americans are very sophisticated.
Assalamu alaikum and God bless you all. I was confused.
Yes, because sometimes, especially
so is it economic?
Yeah, well, the economic, yes, of course, you have more than 50 or 6% of the Egyptians under the line of poverty, and this is very significant. First, second, you have 1 or 2 generations without any hope in the future, mostly. And you have a terrible division of the society. As a matter of fact, there are 2 Egypts, you see.
2 Egypts?
Yes, this is a kind of bourgeois quartier, Garden City and other quartier, other neighborhoods, and you see Gezira Club, and you see this is in Egypt, and Marina of the North Coast, and this is in Egypt. This is a lucky Egypt, and I think that this is terrible, and this could not last, and this is very dangerous as well. So you have all these things together. It was what I call the complications of the dictatorship, because I believe that all these are complications of the dictatorship.
You know, I was talking to Ahmed Fouad about the complicated Egyptian personality.
Yes.
Which Egypt or Egyptian personality is the farmer, not the city.
Yes.
And he said a farmer looks at time in thousands, generation.
Yeah.
What is 50 years of operation? He will be patient.
Yeah.
Well, once in a while he'll kick you like a horse or like a donkey. Once he's just fed up with it.
Yes.
Now we realize the complication. But we've been waiting for that for a long time.
Well, Egypt was, you see, the positive point of Egypt was its negative point at the same time. Because when you just remember the map of the old world, Egypt was always in the heart of the world. And that was positive and negative. Positive because Egypt has been for centuries a kind of nerve cell, you see, through which all the civilization messages were transmitted, you see. We had the civilization from the north, and we passed it to the south, and from the east to the west. And so that's why I believe that Egyptians are really civilized, you see. You could accuse them of anything, but not, they are really civilized.
Even the uneducated person.
Yes, you have this heritage, you see, of centuries, 6,000 centuries, 60 centuries, 6,000 years.
Of being a centrist.
Yes.
Which create a balance. What does it do to be a...
You have your, even if you are poor, even if you are undeveloped, even if you are suffering from a dictator, you have your heritage of civilization, you see. That's why you're saying that. To know exactly the reality, the conclusion of Wild Woman in Egypt, it's the job of sociology, not of the fiction. Yes. So I presented some Egyptians who are suffering, you see, and who are suffering because of dictatorship. Because when you don't have democracy, you miss most of the important meanings in life, you see. And when you don't have democracy, then you have a whole bunch of problems waiting for you. We learn in medicine never to try to cure symptoms without curing the disease. You must know what is the disease, otherwise you could kill the patient. Because, for example, a slight fever could be a symptom of a slight flu, but it could be a symptom of an inflammation of the brain. So you must cure the disease. And it's only when you cure the disease, then the symptoms are to disappear.
Yes.
This rule is not only, in my opinion, not only for the human body, but it's for the human society as well. Our disease is a dictatorship in Egypt and in the Arab world. And we have a whole bunch of symptoms and complications, like poverty, injustice, corruption, torture, violation of human rights, fanatism, and even terrorism. So there is no way to cure these complications without curing the disease. So my characters were good people, but they were not lucky because they were brought up under a dictatorship. So they were suffering from injustice and from torture and from many, many complications of the dictatorship. This does not mean they are bad people. They are good people, but they were really oppressed by the dictatorship like anybody else. So I'm not presenting bad people. I'm trying to understand and to explain how and why people suffer, you see? And this is the job of literature. And you have one of the most important novelists in history, who is Leo Tolstoy, the Russian. He was asked the same question. He was asked, why do you write all the time about sad people and not happy people?
Yeah.
You never write about happy people. And then the answer was, because all happy people are alike. In each corner in Egypt, you have novels. Everybody in Egypt walking in the street could be a project of a good novel. Egyptians are under pressure, under severe pressure. The situation in Egypt, many people in the West and many people in the cannot even imagine, you see. Cannot imagine being paid $100, for example, and you have 5 children, and you are paid this a month, not an hour.
Oh,
yes.
no.
They did use a very sophisticated tool to demolish the building. And it was a very, very strange scene. It was like cutting the building with a knife, the same way you cut a piece of cheese with your knife. And then I found myself before the building, which is very old and very beautiful, and the building was one wall cut off. So it was like a theater. So I saw, because the people, the inhabitants, when they left, they didn't take everything. They left the stuff they considered negligible, you see. So I went and I just watched the building for about 40 minutes, you see, because it was very inspiring. There were towels, old newspapers, you see, left in the building. And I had in mind that these rooms were the theater of many human stories, you see. I said to myself, probably in this room, a teenager fell in love for the first time with his neighbor, or there was a wedding night, or there were the very complicated moment of a divorce, you see, in the same room. So I said to myself that the rooms are full of human history. And then accordingly, I thought that probably if I can tell a story about a building, that could make up a good novel. And I must say, that was the inspiration. But I must say also that this is a category that has been existing in fiction for years, you see. And we call this the place as the main character.
You brought to us the harsh reality of the Egyptians. And most of those character or actor of those prisons, it's like they were